Hello everyone, welcome to .NetMirror channel. If you want to understand how different apps like mobile app on your phone, an Angular app, or even IoT devices talk to a central server, you are in the right place. Today we are going to deep dive about ASP.NET Web API. In this video, we will create your first Web API in ASP.NET Core within Visual Studio. The APIs we are going to use control based APIs. In this video, we will understand what is a Web API, create first control based Web API in Visual Studio. We will look at the demo at the end. Before we jump in, make sure you hit subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you never miss a deep dive into .NET ecosystem and my Azure videos. So what's exactly is an ASP.NET Core Web API? Simply, it's a cross-platform open source framework built specially for creating HTTP-based services. It acts as a bridge between your applications and the central server. It's an ideal framework to build RESTful applications on the .NET platform. Is a client from the browser or mobile app sends an HTTP request. It goes to ASP.NET Core Web API controller. Within the controller, you will have different action methods, and these action methods will read the logic and writes the data to the data source like a database. Finally, the controller sends back HTTP response, usually in JSON or XML format, which the client can easily understand. There are two ways to build web APIs. One is control based, other is minimal APIs. Control based is a traditional approach where it derives from control based class and all the HTTP requests are grouped together in the control based APIs. When it comes to minimal APIs, these are simpler one and high performance microservice based where you can use it. In this video, let's focus on the first one. As a prerequisite, make sure you have Visual Studio, .NET SDK, and basic C# knowledge. In the Visual Studio, you can click a new project, select ASP.NET Core Web API template, provide the project name and location where you want to save your project, select framework as .NET 10, check the checkbox use controller and click on create. Once you create, you will see this kind of application which is created. I will show you in the demo. Let's get into the demo. Let's open Visual Studio. If you want to set up your IDE to start web APIs, I created a video. I will provide the link in the description. Now from the Visual Studio, click on create new project. You can select ASP.NET Core Web API template. Let's name it as first controller API. Let's click on next. Here you can select .NET 10 and select the checkbox as use controls. Remaining all you can uncheck. Let's create. Now the project is created. Let's look at the solution explorer. So here you have a controller folder where it has a default weather forecast controller. If you notice on top, there's an API controller and the route called controller at the top. This tell that ASP.NET this is a class is ready to handle API request, and you have a get method called weather. It will return all the weather data, and if you look at here, it is trying to return an enumerable which is trying to take random numbers, the date and the temperature, and it's trying to take the summaries randomly which are hard coded over here. Before we run into the demo, let's understand the remaining files. So you have an application settings.json. If you want to make anything configurable, you can put it here. You have an first control API.http, which is to test your APIs, and you have a program.cs and there is a weather forecast.cs. This is the basically model for your this controller which is trying to use this is the model class. Now let's go to the program.cs. Within the program.cs, application dot create builder, this line initializes the application and allows us to register services into the dependent injection container, and we have add controllers. Add controllers tells that the framework to look for those controls classes which you defined within the solution. You have builder.build. This locks our configurations and creates actual web application instances. And you have a middleware, and where you have use HTTP redirection, which means that always your request go to HTTPS. And you have controllers. This is the one tells the routing system to connect incoming HTTP request to the right action methods in your control based on the routes which you defined. So there are more you can define, but this is a basic application. So now let's run the application. Yeah, now our application is up and running. Now let's go and access this URL. Let's go to the output window. Let's test from the browser. And it says page cannot be found. Now go to the weather API, and here the route is basically the controller name, which is weather forecast. Let's take that. Now if you look at here, it is trying to return the date, the temperature, and the summary. And if you go and keep refreshing it, it will keep sending the dates and random summary values. With this way, it is returning your API data. Now what we will do is we will try to add one more controller here. So I'm trying to prefer a certification data which will try to return list of certifications. So let's create a model class called certification. Before that, let's create a folder called model. Let's create a class, and within this let me define few properties. So I have defined three members: code, name, and topics. Now let's add a controller, scaffolded item, and go to the API. You can say create an empty one. So let's call it as search controller. Now within this controller, I already have a code. Let me copy that. Yeah, here I'm trying to, so we have added a controller. So basically the controller is a base class for an MVC controller without the view. If you want the view based MVCs, you have to derive from controller. So now here I've created a static in-memory data which is called list of certifications. I'm trying to return three certifications over here, and I have a get route which will return all these certifications. And there is a post as well here where you can go and add. At the moment it is in memory, so I'm not going to test the post. To browse our new controller, go to your controller. You have to say API/controller. Our control name is search. Let's go to the application. Let's go to the browser. Now the application is up and running. To access this particular controller, you have to say your localhost slash API slash certs. So let's go to here. Let's say API slash certs. That is the name of your controller. Now if you see here, it is trying to automatically, it's going to the get call, and you are able to see the certifications which you are created here. Now here we tested from the browser. Same thing you can test from your API slash HTTP. Now if you go and sends the request, it will return the weather forecast data. Now this is the first API we tested from the browser. It is same, you can test over here. Now let's add our newly created controller. Go to the view. From the other windows, you can go to the endpoint explorer, and it will show all your endpoints. These are the newly created ones. So right click on this one. You can say generate request. Let me close this. Let's stop this. Let's go to the HTTP file. Yeah, now our API search is available. Let's run the app. Now send request. Yeah, now it is trying to send the request from here .htp file. Now we are able to see the same data which we have seen in the browser. With this way, you can test your APIs within the application itself. With this, we are done with the demo. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to our channel .NET Mirror. If you like the video, click on the like button, share with your friends and colleagues. Click on the bell icon to get more updates from my channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.